this computer, and I think we're good to go.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin. I'm a science teller, and I'm here today to show you a really, really cool story. It's called Dragons, Return of the Ice Sorceress. It's a great story. Dragons and knights and some kids that have these great adventures, and you're going to love it. It's a really cool story. It's also got some science in it. So we're going to need your help. When we go to do the science experiments that are part of the story, we're going to need your help helping us figure out what do we think is going to happen when we do this experiment. So I'll stop periodically throughout the show, and you can help us figure out what's going to happen when we do this experiment. Now, before we go any further, I would like to thank Miss Rebecca and everybody at the library for allowing us to come in today. Let's give them all a round of applause for all the great things they do at the library. Miss Rebecca, I know you're on with us. Would you like to say anything?
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon if you're tuning in late.
Right.
So excited that you are here to join us because I am a huge fan of science, so I'm really excited for this presentation. Absolutely. I wanted to remind you guys that we are still doing curbside pickups. So if there is a book that you have your eyes set on, make sure you put it on hold. We will go and find it in the stacks. We'll give you a call and let you know it's ready and you can come pick it up. And then we're still doing our summer reading on Beanstack. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to call and I'll help you set yourself up.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Miss Rebecca. This is great. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen. I'm going to start the show. My friend Ricky, who's also a science teller, he's going to take you through the show, do the science experiments, and I'm going to help with you all. And we're trying to figure out what's going to happen with this experiment. Now, when the show's over, I've got a bonus experiment that I'm going to do here in my laboratory, something that I think you can try at home. It's all with materials that you'll have in your home, probably in your kitchen. If you try it, though, please remember to have an adult or a parent or a grown-up, somebody standing by, just to make sure you have all the right materials. Also, don't forget to clean up. That was the hardest part for me. Every time I do an experiment, I forgot to clean up. I'm better about that now, but I'm sure you'll do great. So at the end of the show, I'll show you the bonus experiment, something I hope you try at home. Okay, if that's it, I get a thumbs up from everybody. I think we're ready to start the show. Fantastic. Okay, here it comes, everybody. I'm going to introduce you now to my friend Ricky, the science teller, and he's going to show you Dragons, Return of the Ice Sorceress. Okay, here we go, everybody. Ricky, whenever you're ready, why don't you take it away? All right, let's get you set up here. Let's get the big screen, the full effect. And all right, Ricky, here we go. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Ricky, and I'm a science teller. A science teller is part scientist, part story teller. That's right. When you mix them together, you get a science teller. And that's someone who uses really cool experiments to tell an amazing story. That's right. You guys are getting good at this. Today's story is called Dragons, Return of the Ice Sorceress. Let's get started. A long, long, long time ago, there was a kingdom. In this kingdom, there was a castle. In this castle, there were two kids. Their names were Henry and Beth. Henry and Beth, however, were not supposed to be in the castle. But one of their favorite things to do was to sneak into places where they shouldn't be. Suddenly, they heard voices. Someone was coming. They started to run. They ran down the hall and wham! Crashed into someone. They looked up thinking that it might be the castle guard, but they were wrong. It wasn't the castle guard at all. It was the last person they wanted to run into. Freeze! What are you doing in my castle? You two are in big trouble. Now come with me. Before the king could grab them, Henry and Beth ran, pushing past the king, ran down another long hall, and ran outside. Woo! That was a close call. Henry and Beth started running back to the village. They were almost home when suddenly, look out! They dove to the ground just in time as something flew through the air right over their heads and disappeared into the forest. Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In the story, Henry and Beth saw something flying above their heads. Would you like to see what it looked like? Right here, I have a cooler. Inside this cooler, I have... Whoa! Something cold. It's so cold, I have to wear these gloves in order to touch it. In this cooler, I have... dry ice. Now, is dry ice hot or cold? It's cold. It's so cold, it's 109 degrees below zero. And that's why I have to wear these gloves in order to touch it. Everyone, stick out your hand. Close your eyes. Imagine you're holding an ice cube. What starts happening to that ice cube? It's melting. That's right. That means it's turning from a solid into a liquid. Okay, everyone, open your eyes. Does dry ice melt?
No.
Does it turn wet like an ice cube? That's why it's called dry ice. Now, when you heat up dry ice, it turns from a solid, not into a liquid, but into a gas. Now, what's it called when something turns from a solid into a gas? Evaporation?
No.
No, that's from a liquid to a gas. Is it called condensation?
No.
No, that's from a gas to a liquid. Is it called procrastination? No, I'll tell you what that means tomorrow. When a solid turns into a gas, it's called sublimation. Right here, I have one of my oldest pieces of equipment. It's called a film canister. I'm going to put a piece of dry ice in this film canister, and it will start to sublimate or turn from a solid into a gas. Even though we can't see it, matter is gas. A matter is anything that takes up space. Now, what takes up more space? A solid or a gas? A gas. A gas will expand and take up much of space as it can. Now, when I put the dry ice in the film canister and put the lid on top, what do you think is going to happen? It's time to do our scientific guess, which is also called a hypothesis.
I don't know if you all saw that. There was some lightning came out of his ceiling. That was really weird. Okay, now let's get to the experiments here. Now, as I told you, I'm going to need your help trying to figure out what we think is going to happen. So, first experiment is, we call it the rocket. Now, Ricky told you he's going to put some dry ice inside that film canister. He's going to put the cap on it. And we think that dry ice will sublimate, will start to build up gas and pressure, and eventually it'll pop the cap right off that film canister. Now, the question we have, though, is how long do you think that's going to take? Do you think it might take maybe about 10 seconds, so pretty fast? Do you think it might take 30 seconds, so a little bit longer? Or do you think it might take more than a minute for enough pressure to build up in there to pop the cap right off that film canister? All right, I'll wait a second so you all can decide what you think is going to happen. Okay. All right. I think we've got an idea what everybody thinks is going to happen here. So let's go back to the show and let's see exactly what happens when Ricky does this experiment. Okay, Ricky, we think we know what's going to happen. Why don't you show us what will happen when you put the dry ice in that film canister and put the cap on? We are anxious to see the experiment happen here. Okay. All right, Ricky, take it away.
Okay. All right. Now let's see what happens.
Okay. Oh, wow, look at that.
Oh, look at that. It's sublimating. Wow. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that is very cool. Very cool.
I love it. All right. Now I'm going to put the lid on top.
Okay, now watch carefully, everybody. This is what we're watching to see. Watch very carefully.
Now, oh my God! Wow! That was awesome!
Incredible.
Whoa! Whoa! Wow!
Incredible.
That was amazing! When we put the lid on top, we trapped the gas inside. The gas kept expanding, trying to find space, which in turn built up pressure inside of the film canister, which made it pop up into the air. And that's what it looked like when Henry and Beth saw something flying over their heads.
Wow, so cool. So cool. Great job, everybody.
They didn't see what flew overhead, but Beth had an idea. Maybe that was the evil eye sorceress.
That's evil eye sorceress. Trouble. Big trouble.
But Henry laughed. That's just an old story people tell to scare their kids. She's not real. Now what would you do? A, would you run home?
Yes.
Or B, would you follow it into the forest?
Nope. No way. Run home. I would get out of there.
Come on, let's go see what it was.
I'm not sure this is a good idea.
Henry grabbed Beth by the arm and together they ran towards the forest. Meanwhile, high atop the castle tower, someone was watching them.
Do you see that? It's like someone's up in that tower.
It's those two pesky kids. They're heading into the forest. I'll stop them. The guard raced down the long hall, jumped onto his horse, and rode to the edge of the forest. Right there, far in the distance, running through the trees, he spotted Henry and Beth. The guards started to chase them. Henry and Beth started to run. They were fast, but the guard's horse was faster. Henry and Beth need our help. Put your hands up and be like the trees in the forest.
Okay, wait. Hang to the tree. We've got to hide them before the guard catches them.
He got closer and closer. The hoofbeats got louder and louder. He rode alongside them.
We're not going to make it.
Just as he reached out, About to grab them, they dove off the path and disappeared from sight.
Oh.
He looked right. Then he looked left. The guards saw something. But it wasn't Henry and Beth. It wasn't a person at all. It was a mysterious white cloud of fog. He felt very cold. Something wasn't right. He turned and rode off in the other direction. It was filling the entire forest.
Uh-oh, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good.
Henry and Beth peeked out from behind the oak tree they were hiding behind. The guard was gone.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In the story, Henry and Beth saw something in the forest. It was a mysterious white cloud of fog. That's right. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that looked like. Do you remember what it's called when a solid turns into a gas?
Sure.
Sublimation. Right here, I have a graduated cylinder filled with water. I'm going to add dry ice to that water. What do you think is going to happen? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis. All right.
Wow, that happened again. That was kind of strange. I think he might want to have his roof checked. I don't think that's supposed to happen. Okay, now back to the experiments. So the next one we have is called the foggy tube. Now, we're going to put some dry ice in that graduated cylinder. Graduated cylinder has water in it, and we think that it should create some fog. But what we don't know is how much fog do you think it's going to make? Do you think it might fill the tube maybe about halfway? That's a good amount. Or do you think it might fill it all the way to the very top of the tube? That'd be a lot of fog. Or do you think it's going to make so much fog, it's going to go all the way to the top and spill all the way all over Ricky's laboratory? What do you think is going to happen? I'll wait a couple seconds to let everybody have a chance to vote. Okay, votes are coming in. All right, all right, looks like we know what we think is going to happen. So let's go back to the show and let's have Ricky do the experiment for us and show us exactly what happens when he puts the dry ice in that graduated cylinder full of water. Okay, Ricky, we're ready for you to show us what's going to happen. Why don't you take it away?
It's time to test out our theory. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
When we put the dry ice into water, the water makes the dry ice heat up and sublimate even faster.
Wow.
That allows us to see all the gas, just like a fog or a cloud. That's right. We can actually, pour it in our hands.
Oh,
look at that.
So cool. Look at that.
Whoa.
Wow.
We can even pour it in our lab coats. Oh. I can even pour it on you.
No.
And this is what it looked like when Henry and Beth saw the mysterious white fog.
Wow, great job, everybody.
The guard was gone, but that's when they saw it. Right there, the fog. It was coming towards them.
What would you do? Would you A, stay in the foggy forest? Or would you B, warn the king?
I think they better warn the king. This doesn't look good to me. Okay.
Quickly, Henry and Beth ran back towards the castle to warn the king.
Good.
Henry and Beth ran fast as they could. They saw the castle in the distance.
Wow, that's a long way.
Finally, they made it out of the forest. But they were too late.
Oh, no, not again. The evil eye sorceress.
Right there, standing in front of the castle, they saw her. It was the evil eye sorceress. Suddenly, the trumpets blared. The castle gates blew open. And the knights marched out. But nobody could have known what was going to happen next. The evil eye sorceress stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers.
What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
With a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released bubbles of fog that rained down from the sky.
Wow.
When the bubbles popped, they released ice-cold fog that froze the night solid. Wait a minute! In the story, the evil eye sorceress stomps her feet. She claps her hands and she snaps her fingers. That's right. When she does, she makes bubbles of fog. We're going to do an experiment to show you exactly what that looks like.
Cool.
Right here, I have a flask. In my flask, there's water.
Okay.
Now, we're going to add a chemical to this water. Soap! We're going to add a piece of dry ice to the soapy-filled water. What do you think is going to happen? It's time for our scientific answer, also known as a hypothesis. Oh.
I'm starting to think that that's going to happen every time he says that word. I've noticed that every time he says it, well, that lightning comes out of the ceiling. Something not right about that. Well, I'll have to talk to him about that. He might need to get that checked. Okay, now let's get back to the experiments. And you all have been doing so great with the experiments we've been doing so far. Now, here's the next one. Ricky's going to put some soap in that flask that's got water in it. He's going to add some dry ice. And when he does that, we think it's going to make bubbles. But we don't know how many bubbles to expect. Do you think it's going to make a few tiny bubbles, just maybe a little bit of suds? Do you think it might make one great big bubble, just like you're chewing bubble gum? That'd be kind of cool to see, actually. Or do you think it's going to make so many bubbles they're going to overflow and then get a huge mess all over Ricky's laboratory? Which is why I'm glad we're not doing it here in my lab. So I'll give you a minute to think about that. Okay, looks like everybody has an idea what they think is going to happen. Okay, all right. So I think you all have got a pretty good idea what you think is going to happen. So why don't we get back to the story and let's have Ricky do this experiment and show us exactly what happens when he puts the dry ice into that flask that's got the soapy water. Okay, Ricky, we'd like to see you do this one now. Why don't you take it away?
All right. Are you ready?
Yes, yes.
Here we go. There's the soap. All right.
Now it's time to add the dry ice.
Watch. Very good. Very, very cool.
Here we go. Whoa! Oh my God! Look at that! Oh, you can see the fog inside of the bubbles.
That is awesome. So cool.
The dry ice supplemented. It turned from a solid into a gas.
Gas, sure.
The gas is filling up the soap. And that's why we're getting so many bubbles.
That's incredible.
Lots and lots of bubbles.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
Wow. Wow.
When the bubbles pop, you can see the fog inside of them escape. It's really cool. And this is what it looked like when the evil ice sorceress made bubbles of fog.
Wow. Wow. Great job, everybody.
But it wasn't the nights that she wanted. Right there, she found who she was looking for. Slowly, she walked towards the king.
No. This doesn't look good.
She stomped her feet.
Just like the last
She
time.
clapped her hands.
Just like the last time.
She snapped her
This
fingers.
is not going to be good.
And with a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released a giant bubble of fog.
Oh.
The bubble popped, releasing an ice-cold fog that froze the king solid. Then, ever so slowly, the evil ice sorceress turned around and looked out into the distance.
Oh, no.
With a flash of her icy blue eyes, she caught Henry and Beth watching her. They started to run.
I would get out of there.
They arrived at a sign with two locations, Fiery Mountains or Frozen Swamp.
What would you do? Would you A, run to the fiery mountains, or would you B, head to the frozen swamp?
I don't know. What should they do? Where should they go?
Henry and Beth reached the base of the Fiery Mountains. There it was said the dragons lived. A dragon was Henry and Beth's only hope to stop the evil ice sorceress.
Sure, that makes sense. Good idea. Good idea.
They climbed up, up, and up the narrow rocky path, winding their way higher and higher into the mountains. With every step they took, they felt the ground getting warmer beneath their feet. As they got closer, they saw it was the opening to a cave.
What would you do? Would you A, keep climbing, or B, go into the cave?
Yes, go to the cave. Let's see what's in there. Okay, good idea. That's a great idea. All right, let's see what's in the cave. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you almost get it? You probably got something lying over their head.
With whatever courage they had left, Henry and Beth stepped inside of the cave. At once they heard a deafening roar. They looked up. They couldn't believe their eyes. They were standing face to face with a dragon. Two children in my mountain cave. What are you doing here?
Okay, everybody. Henry and Beth needs our help again, okay?
Okay.
On 3, yell, the evil ice sorceress is back, okay?
Okay.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
The evil ice sorceress.
My fire should be able to melt her. The dragon flew up in the air. Henry and Beth felt the powerful wind in their face and hair.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In the story, Henry and Beth flew through the air with the dragon. That's right. While they were flying through the air, they felt how strong the wind was.
Right.
We're going to do an experiment to show you what that was like.
Awesome.
Now, what's all around us that we need to breathe? Air.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is air a solid, a liquid, or a gas? That's right. Air is made out of tiny little particles, too small for us to see. But if we can't see it, how do we know it exists? Because we can feel it. We can also see the effects that it has on other objects.
Okay.
Right here, I have a leaf blower. The leaf blower sucks air through this end and shoots it out at 140 miles an hour.
Turn that off, please. Ram things around my laboratory. Turn it off, please.
Oh my goodness, that was amazing! I wonder if I can find something else in the lab to use it on. Let's try the leaf blower with this toilet paper.
Okay.
What do you think is going to happen? It's time for us to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis.
Okay, I'm starting to think he's doing that on purpose. I'm starting to think he likes that somehow. I'm gonna definitely have to talk to him about this. Okay, now let's see what happens with this next experiment. And I have to tell you, you all have been doing fantastic. All right, now, Ricky's gonna turn on the leaf blower, and as he told us, it shoots out air at 140 miles an hour. That is crazy. And he's going to shoot it against the toilet paper. What do you think it's going to do to the toilet paper? Do you think it might just move it very, very gently? Or do you think the toilet paper may just fall to the ground? It wouldn't have any effect at all? Or do you think that the leaf blower is going to make the toilet paper unravel and go shooting off all across the laboratory? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, give you everybody a few seconds to think about it. Okay, it looks like we have our votes, and I think we have a good idea what's going to happen. Why don't we get back to this show and have Ricky show us exactly what happens when he turns on that leaf blower. I think this ought to be very cool. Ricky, we think we know. We think we have a good idea what's going to happen to the toilet paper, but why don't you show us for sure? All right? Take it.
All right, now it's time to test out our theory. Fast-moving air has lots of energy. When the energy comes into contact with another object, like the toilet paper, it makes the toilet paper fly through the air. That's what it looked like when Henry and Beth flew through the air with the dragon.
Great, everybody. Good work.
Flying through the air, the dragon saw the entire kingdom below. The castle was completely frozen in ice. Right there stood the evil ice sorceress.
No.
She was watching. The dragon landed in front of the castle and put Henry and Beth down.
I'll be right back.
The dragon took a deep breath and released a blast of fire.
Not even fire can melt me.
She stomped her feet. She clapped her hands.
You know what happens when she does this?
She snapped her fingers.
Oh, this is not
And with a wave of the hand and flick of the wrist, she released bubbles of fog that rained down on Henry and Beth. Just when they thought all hope was lost, Henry and Beth heard a sound. The dragon spread its wings wide apart and covered Henry and Beth like a giant umbrella. The bubbles popped, releasing their ice-cold fog that froze the dragon solid. Then the evil eye sorceress rose up into the air and started flying towards them.
Oh, no.
What would you do? Would you A, face the evil sorceress?
Nope.
Or would you B, find a place to hide?
That one. Yes. Run and hide. Run and hide.
Henry and Beth started to run. Henry and Beth saw an open window in the castle. They jumped inside. Down, down, down to the cold castle cellar. Everything in the cellar was completely frozen in ice, except for one thing, an old wooden barrel.
They opened the barrel. It was filled with salt. As they climbed inside the barrel, some salt spilled out onto the ground, and it started to melt the ice. Just then, someone kicked the door in.
I can see you come out of that barrel.
She stomped her feet. She clapped her hands. She snapped her fingers.
Uh-oh.
The evil eye sorceress started to wave her hand.
Boy.
But before the evil eye sorceress could flick her wrist, Henry and Beth had an idea. They reached their hands inside of the barrel, grabbed a handful of salt, and on three, one, two, three, they threw it at her.
All at once, the salt began to work. The evil eye sorceress broke out in a cold sweat, and she watched as the salt melt through her icy skin. With one final shriek, the evil eye sorceress exploded into millions of tiny water droplets that fell like rain.
Wow.
And just like that, the evil eye sorceress was gone. This time, for good.
Wait a minute! In this story, Henry and Beth melted the evil eye sorceress with salt. She exploded into millions of ice droplets. We're going to do an experiment to show you what that looked like. Okay, everyone, do like this. Okay, do it again. We breathe out CO2 or carbon dioxide. That's the same thing that dry ice is made out of. Dry ice is just the solid form of carbon dioxide. Inside this cartridge is carbon dioxide gas. When we open up this end, carbon dioxide escapes very, very fast. I'm going to attach it to this tube. And what's inside of this tube? Nothing right now. We're going to put water inside of the tube. We're going to pull this lever and release the carbon dioxide gas. Now, what do you think's gonna happen? It's time for our scientific
Hang on a
test,
second.
also
Wait a
called
minute.
a hypothesis.
Okay, I tried to warn him. You saw me. You saw that I did. I tried to stop it. Okay. All right. Well, sometimes you just get nothing you can do about it. Okay. Now let's do the next experiment. Now, Ricky is going to put water inside that tube. He's going to turn the lever and release the carbon dioxide gas. What do you think is going to happen to the water that's inside the tube? Do you think it's going to turn into a gas or evaporate? That could be. Do you think it might shoot out like rain and get Ricky soaking wet? That's the one I'm kind of rooting for. Or do you think it might freeze, might make that water freeze? Some really good possibilities here. I'll give you all a couple seconds to see what you think. Okay, I think we're getting some good guesses here. All right, it looks like we have a good idea what we think is going to happen. So let's get back to the story and let's have Ricky show us exactly what is going to happen. Is it going to freeze? Is it going to evaporate? Or is it going to shoot out like rain and get Ricky soaking wet? That's the one I'm hoping for. Tell him I said that. Okay, all right, Ricky. We've made our guess. Over to you to show us exactly what's going to happen.
Okay, well, let's see what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Now, let's count down from 10.
Okay.
Are you ready? Let's do it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Ready?
1. Oh my God! Oh my gosh!
Oh, no, Ricky.
Oops. And that's what it looked like when the evil ice sorceress exploded into thousands of little tiny droplets of water.
Henry and Beth got right to work. They dragged the barrel outside the castle,
Pretty heavy.
lifted it high over their heads, and dumped salt all over the dragon. All they could do now was wait
I hope this works.
and wait.
Really need it to work.
And the salt began to melt the ice.
Wow.
The dragon started to move. It flapped its giant wings and flew into the air. Flying over the kingdom, the dragon saw everything still covered in ice.
Wow.
It took a deep breath and released a blast of fire. As the ice melted and the kingdom thawed out, a huge cloud of fog formed over the land.
Wow.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! At the end of the story, the dragon took a deep breath and let out a blast of fire. That's right. The fire melted all the ice and left a big cloud of fog. This is an experiment to show you what that looked like. Right here, I have a bucket filled with hot water. Right here, I have dry ice. What do you think is going to happen when I put the dry ice inside of the bucket of hot water?
Now, Ricky.
It's time to make our scientific
Wait a
test,
second. Hold it.
also called
Wait.
I almost said the word hypothesis. Oh!
Oh, I thought he wasn't going to say it that time. Oh, boy.
no.
Okay. Well, that's not much more you can do, I guess. Okay, now let's see what you all think about this experiment. Ricky's going to put dry ice in a bucket of hot water. Now we think it's going to make some fog. Question is, how much fog do you think it's going to make? Do you think it might make a little bit of fog? It probably should make some. Do you think it might make a lot of fog? Or do you think it might make way, way, way too much fog and get all over Ricky's laboratory? What do you think is going to happen? I'll give you all a few seconds to think about it. Okay. I guess the votes are coming in. Oh, looks like everybody thinks they know what's going to happen. Okay, I think we have our results here. So let's go back to the story. Let's have Ricky show us exactly what happens when he does this experiment. All right, Ricky, we think we know. We think we have a good idea what's going to happen when you put that dry ice in the bucket with all of that hot water. So why don't you show us?
Wow. Okay, are you guys ready? I need your help counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So cool. Oh, look at all that fog.
The ice is sublimating very fast because it's in hot water.
Oh, how awesome is that?
This is awesome.
So
Whoa, 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 whoa,
so
whoa,
great.
whoa, whoa. This is super cool.
Yeah.
It's sublimating at such a high rate.
Incredible. It's still going.
And that's exactly what it looked like when the kingdom started to thaw out again.
Wow. Great job, everybody. Great job.
The dragon waved goodbye to Henry and Beth and headed back to her home in the mountains. Everything returned to normal.
Suddenly, someone called for Henry and Beth. It was the king. Then they remembered that they were in trouble for sneaking around the castle. The king called for them again. This time, there was nowhere to hide.
Henry, Beth, I've been looking everywhere for you. Because of what you did, our kingdom is safe.
Wait, what?
All hail Henry and Beth, and your dragon friend too. And from now on, you are allowed to sneak around the castle whenever you'd like.
The dragon, it did it. It did it. It saved the kingdom. Wow. That's so awesome.
And that concludes Dragons, Return of the Ice Sorcerer. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, great job, Ricky. Great job. That was really great. Oh, what a cool story. What a cool story. Wow. That was fantastic. Did everybody like the story? Did you get a thumbs up from everybody? Yeah, that was so great. And you did fantastic with all of the science experiments. I just knew this was a great group of scientists. I could tell. I could just tell. Fantastic. Okay, now, I have a couple of questions for you, actually. We learned a lot during this, and I think it'd be interesting to see what you all remember from the story. So, who remembers what is dry ice? Is dry ice solid carbon monoxide, which is CO? Is it solid carbon dioxide, which is CO2? Or is it solid carbon trioxide, CO3? Let's see if you remember what Ricky told us. Okay, the votes are coming. I think you all have a pretty good idea of what this answer is. These are some great scientists here, so let's go back, and you are correct. Yes, the answer is in fact B. Dry ice is solid carbon dioxide, CO2. Great job, everybody. Great job. Okay, now, as long as we're talking about dry ice, who remembers how cold it is? Ricky told us this in the show. Is it 0 degrees, which is pretty cold? Is it minus 32 degrees? I mean, that's really, really cold. Or did he say dry ice is minus 109 degrees? I can't even imagine how cold that must be. Give everybody a few seconds. Oh, looks like everybody thinks they know. All right, the votes are coming in. Fantastic. All right, let's see what you all think. And the answer is, in fact, C. Dry ice is minus 109 degrees. That is amazing. Great job, everybody. Great job on that question. Fantastic. Okay, and then the last question that I have for you is, what takes up the most space? Solid, gas, or liquid? What takes up the most space? Ricky talked about this way, way back at the beginning when he put the dry ice in the film canister. What takes up the most space? Oh, looks like everybody thinks they have a good idea about this one. Okay, those votes came in pretty quick. All right, let's go back and see what you all think. And the answer is yes, in fact, it's B. A gas takes up the most space. Gas will spread out to fill up all the space it has available. Great work, everybody. Really, really great job. There's some great scientists we have here. Fantastic. Okay, now, I promised you a bonus experiment. Something that I hope you all try at home. I'm going to go over here to the science cam. I'm going to show you what I got to do this experiment. Now, before I do, let me remind you, if you decide to do this experiment, make sure that there's an adult or a parent or a grown-up, somebody standing by to help you get the materials out, make sure everything is safe, and also don't forget to clean up when you're done. Okay, let me go over to the science cam. Okay, there we go. Now, everybody see the science cam okay? Great. So let me show you what we're going to do over here. I have a little container. I have a piece of string. I have some salt, just regular salt like you would find in your kitchen. I have some water. And I have some ice. Now, this is not dry ice. This is ice that would come out of your refrigerator freezer. So I'm going to pour the ice into the container. Sure we get it all in there. Okay. Then I'm going to take the water and I'm going to pour the water over top of the ice. There we go. Okay. Now, I've got the water on the in with the ice. Now I'm going to take my string and I'm going to put the string in here, in this icy water. Whoa, that's cold. Wow. I can't imagine what dry ice must be like. Wow. Okay. So now I'm going to take the string and I'm going to lay it across the ice cubes just like that. Okay, everybody see that okay? All right. Then I'm going to take the salt and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt over top of the string. Okay, just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. I think we've got it. Now here's where I need your help. What do you think is going to happen now to the ice cubes? Do you think that those ice cubes, now that we've got the string and the salt on there, do you think those ice cubes will sink down to the bottom of the container? That could happen, right? Do you think they'll actually stick to the string? That seems kind of unusual. Or do you think they'll make the string so cold it'll actually snap, it'll actually break the string? What do you think is going to happen? I'm going to give everybody a few seconds to give us their votes. Okay, I think we've got a pretty good idea what we think is going to happen here, but certainly we don't know. That's why we do this experiment. Okay, I think we've got everybody's votes in. And now let's go back to the science cam and see exactly what happens to the ice cubes. Okay, now, see if I can find a way to get a hold of this string. It's very, very cold in there. Find a place where I can grab it. Okay, I think I can get it those two places. Okay, ready? Let's see what happens. And there we go. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh, we got almost all of them. We got almost all of the ice cubes on the string. Oh, how cool is that? That might be the most I've ever seen happen. That's fantastic. Wow, wow, awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let me go back here and come back from the science cam. Okay, now let's talk about what happened. We put the water in with the ice, we put the string on top of the ice cubes, and then we put some salt on the string. And what happens is the salt melts the ice just a little bit. It's kind of like what happens in the wintertime if you have salt on your steps or on your sidewalk. Sometimes people will sprinkle some salt on there, makes it easier to get the ice off. That's because the salt melts the ice just a little bit, and it causes the string to settle down into that melted part. But the ice cubes are still very, very cold, and they refreeze that melted part, which makes the string stick to the ice cubes. I don't think I've ever gotten that many ice cubes to stick to the string before. That was fantastic. Now, you get a thumbs up. Who thinks they might try that experiment at home? Yeah, I hope you do. I really hope you do. Now, what I would like you to do, though, when you try this experiment, try to change the conditions a little bit. Maybe put a little more salt, maybe just a little bit of salt, maybe some more water, less water. Try to change the conditions and see if it affects the result that you get. Maybe you'll get more ice cubes. Maybe you'll get less ice cubes. You'll see. But that's how we do science, right? We try different conditions, we get different results, and then we learn about the experiment that way. So that's fantastic. Boy, I'll tell you what a great group of scientists we had here this morning. I see future science tellers out there is what I see. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed Dragon's Return of the Ice Sorceress. I hope you enjoyed the bonus experiment. Miss Rebecca, anything you'd like to say to everybody?
I just want to say a huge thank you because that was so much fun. I learned so many new words and I'm so excited. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us, and thank you again, Science Tellers.
You all were fantastic. I hope everyone has a great summer, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks for having Science Tellers. We'll see you all soon, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.